is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Mid-Level Media channel, your hub for everything physical media and entertainment. And guys, I am so excited because we're going to get spooky today. We're past the Halloween season, but we're still talking horror on this channel. We've got a banger to talk about today, The Nun 2 on 4K from Warner Brothers. This latest release that just came out this week. It came out on November the 14th, so it's available now, guys. I'm going to link it down below. I'm going to link the 4K and the Blu-ray. I think this 4K is going for $27.95 currently, but is it worth it? That's what we're going to let you guys know here today in this video. So hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you're new to the channel, I cover physical media here. That's what we do. Movies, physical media, we talk entertainment, just all kinds of stuff here on this channel. If you like that kind of thing, hit the subscribe button and then hit the like button and then comment down below what's your thoughts on the Nun franchise. What's your thoughts on the first Nun, the second Nun if you saw it in the theaters? Let me know in the comment section below. What's your thoughts on the Conjuring verse as a whole? Is that what they call it? The Conjureverse. This is the 9th installment in the Conjureverse. This thing has been going for a long time. What do you think about it? Let me know in the comment section below. Also, let me know if you plan on picking this up on physical media. So we're going to discuss all things Nun 2 on home video today on 4K. We're going to talk about the movie, the transfer, the audio, the special features, the packaging, do a little unboxing. We're going to cover it all. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. Let's talk about the movie. So look, I love the first two Conjuring movies. I really do. But after that, like all of these movies are pretty, outside of maybe Annabelle Creation, that was pretty suspenseful and pretty well done for what it was. Outside of that, like I just don't enjoy any of these movies anymore. I don't know if I've just outgrown them or what exactly happened, because I can go back and still enjoy The Conjuring and The Conjuring 2. And I think the reason for that is there's an artistry to those movies. There's a vision. James Wan is a visionary filmmaker. So these movies without James Wan, under the leadership of James Wan, I know he's still a producer, but he's not involved in the direction, the direct filmmaking process. So without his vision, they just feel very hollow. They just feel very uninspired. And the Nun, the first Nun movie I saw in the theaters, and I don't even know how I stayed awake. Like that movie, there was just nothing to it. It was completely hollow. And the Nun was such a great horror character that debuted in The Conjuring 2. I love the Nun character. So everybody was really excited to see that Nun movie. And then it just came out and it just fizzled and nobody liked it. So with this one, I could feel that they were trying to go back to the basics and really establish the Nun as this horror icon that it debuted as in The Conjuring 2. But I still came away from this movie just feeling like there was just nothing to it. Very hollow, very uninspired. There's just no vision behind any of these movies. I kind of describe these films, they're amusement park horror movies. And James Wan is kind of responsible for this whole new wave of horror, to be honest, which again is both a good and a bad thing. I think these movies at the end of the day, they draw money. There's an audience, there's a box office. I think they are good for the horror genre, but there's just nothing to them. And I think that if you're really into horror and you've been into horror your entire life like I have, you're just looking for something more at this point in your horror fandom. I can understand people, like these are like good gateway horror movies, I guess. Like if you're 13, 14 and you enjoy these movies, if you don't watch a lot of horror movies and you're just looking for a cheap thrill, like I can imagine these movies do the trick. But this is really just amusement park horror. And what I mean by that, it's almost like going through a haunted house. It's just things jump out. There's loud noises. There's just nothing to it. There's nothing behind it that's really sinister and really gets under your skin. It's just loud noises. It's jump scares. It's creepy things in the dark that go bump in the night. And that's just all it is. It just feels like you're on a ride and you're going through it. And then when you're done, you're like, oh, that was pretty fun. But then you just forget about it. There's nothing to this movie. There's no substance to the actual film, to the plot, to the characters. Like they try to insert this like forced drama with some of the characters in the film. They try to hit some emotional beats at the end. None of that stuff, it resonates at all. And it's not really the actor's fault. Like I think her name's Taissa Farmiga, who's actually the sister of Vera Farmiga, or maybe the cousin, I'm not exactly sure. She's a good actress and she's not like doing a bad job in these movies. It's just the way she's written. There's just like nothing to her character. She's a nun. She defeated the Nun in the first movie, and the Nun is wreaking havoc again in Europe, just all across Europe. So the popes or the cardinals or whatever, they send her to go fight the Nun again. They're like, look, you did it before, you're gonna do it again. She's like, no, I don't want to do it. They're like, yeah, you're doing it. She goes, okay, I guess I'm doing it then. And then she goes in and fights the Nun again, because apparently she's the only nun that can fight the Nun, the second incarnation of the Nun. Nothing is explained, nothing is established. Like, you don't care about anything that's going on. It's all just an excuse to get you in this creepy building in Europe. I think it's in France. And all these characters are just running around this building for like an hour and a half. And that's all it is. And they're just dodging creepy thing after creepy thing until you get to the end. Big showcase moment with the Nun flying around. Some spells are cast by the Nun. Some things are going on. Items are found and discovered. At one point, it kind of feels like an Uncharted movie or an Indiana Jones film, because they're like trying to find all these artifacts to fight the Nun with. Then Black Phillip comes out. And there's like a scene with a killer goat like running around, or a killer sheep or whatever it is running around. It's just ridiculous. It's nonsense. Like, there's nothing to it. It's all just nonsense. It's all an excuse to get these creepy things on screen. And there's probably going to be people that comment. They're like, Ken, this is what happened. This is the story, blah, blah, blah. But there's nothing that makes me want to care to even engage in that. So when I'm done watching this, I just instantly forget about this movie. Like, nothing about it sticks. And this is directed by Michael Chavez, who I guess is like the Conjuring, established director at this point. He directed The Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It, which I thought was completely bland and ordinary as well. He also directed La Llorona. So I think they're his go-to guy at this point. James Wan's kind of protege. But he has no vision. Again, he's just the director that kind of stands in to do a job. Again, it feels like MCU horror at this point. Like, it's a carnival ride, it's an amusement park ride. It's the MCU for horror fans. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't want to act like there's something wrong with that. There's not. It's just not for me. There's no depth to it. I need some depth. I need my horror films to be weird and to go places and to go for certain things and really lay it all on the line. That's what I need at this point. And that's what they used to do back in the day, the 60s, 70s, 80s. That's why we got all these classics that are just hailed as these masterpieces today, because filmmakers had vision. They went for it. Maybe not everybody liked it or enjoyed it, but they went for it, and now they're classics. The Nun 2 will never be a classic. No movie in the Conjuring universe outside of the first two Conjuring movies will ever be hailed as classics. They just won't. There's no substance there. So all that being said, that's my thoughts on The Nun 2. It's fine. If you like all the other Conjuring movies, you will probably like The Nun 2. It's not a terrible film. It's a competent film, but there's just no soul to it. There's just nothing there for me personally to really latch onto and engage with. Now, I will say there's a couple of moments in the first 30 minutes that were kind of creepy, and really the Nun was kind of in the shadows and like the corners and stuff. Some of that imagery was a little creepy, there was a little tension there. Besides that, there's just nothing to this movie at all. So let's go ahead and get into the 4K transfer here by Warner Bros. Now, this is a newer film. It's shot digitally. I'm sure that the 4K doesn't look like that much better than the Blu-ray, but I think with that HDR, what you get is a little bit more depth, a little bit more contrast between the blacks and the lighter colors. And this movie is a really dark film, so I think that HDR kind of helps you be able to see and make out a lot more things and be able to see more details of this movie, which, like I said, when you see that nun just kind of standing off in that dark corner, I think the HDR and the 4K just really highlight her just in the right way to make it a little extra creepy. So I do think that this does deliver, but because Warner Bros. Does not include the Blu-ray, I could not check that out to see how it compares. But I think with the HDR, it does look a little bit better than that Blu-ray probably does. Now, the 4K definitely, it's very crisp, it's very clear. You can definitely see everything, like I said, very clearly. It's a new movie. You don't expect it to look bad anyway. But I do think that that 4K adds that little extra bit of clarity there for you to see a little bit more. It's not a mind-blowing looking 4K for sure. This is not a bright and colorful movie. It's a very dark movie, but I think all the settings and everything, all the backgrounds, and they definitely put a lot of work into that. I'll say that about this movie. There's no vision behind it, but there's a lot of work that's put into building these kind of creepy looking sets, and the costume design and some of the special effects and makeup are well done, and all that stuff looks very good in 4K. So getting into the sound, I think that's where this release truly shines. This does have Dolby Atmos. It also has Dolby True 7.1 HD. You also have Dolby Digital 5.1 as well. I thought the sound was incredible. Like I said, this is amusement park horror. There's a lot of loud noises. There's a lot of intensity to the sounds in this movie, to the music in this film. They really go for it, especially in that last 45 minutes, you know, where everything's just kind of jumping out. Things are ramping up. Like, there's some big set piece moments in this movie, like parts of the building are falling down when it gets towards the end. Just some big moments, and they really try to go for it with that sound to just up the intensity and really make you feel that terror. You know, nothing says terror like half of a building falling down from 2 stories ahead. You know what I mean? But they really try to go for it with that sound. The nun's growling off in the distance. And when that nun is growling, or the nun or the sheep or something's growling in the corner, like you can almost hear it like right behind you. And again, I just have a sound bar that kind of simulates that Dolby Atmos, and I have a subwoofer, but I can still kind of hear that growling like right next to my ear when it's happening. So I think that the Atmos really delivers, especially this type of horror movie that just really goes for it with the sound cues and really tries to scare you with the audio. So really great sound here. Thought that Warner Brothers absolutely delivered on the sound. Now getting into the packaging, very simple packaging. You know, you have the classic at this point Warner Brothers 100 banner at the top, which some people do not like. I think it goes with this one though, because you have that gold right there with the nun kind of looking through that. And I will say, when I started it up, the title screen looks really good and creepy because it's very kind of faint, and you can just kind of see the nun staring right at you when you turn it on. So I do think that the nun character, guys, at the end of the day, it's a really good horror character. I just really wish they did something with it. I wish I knew like who the nun was, like what's her story, like what's going on with this character. Some motivations here would help establishing this creepy figure, because there are some, again, I'm getting back into the movie, but there are some really brutal sequences towards the beginning. I think the first 30 minutes are probably the best part of this film, and the nun is actually pretty damn effective in those sequences. So I do like the nun character. I just wish the movies would do her justice, but very creepy look on the front of this. You turn it around, you got Tisa Farmiga on the back, you got some other images, you got all the specs down there. So that's pretty cool. Take it out of the case, you know, you got this case right here without the banner. You flip it over, you get all the same stuff with the casting list on the back. Open it up. You do have a digital code here, but like I said, you only get the 4K. There is no Blu-ray included here. And with the special features, you get two special features, sorry guys. This is the first time the Nun's ever been put out. They can't be new, right? But you get 2 special features, and they're both 5 minutes, and they're just kind of like little featurettes on the making of this movie. And they're kind of cool, like I said, to see how some of the sets are built and how some of the sequences were shot. You know, and they just kind of pat themselves on the back, and James Wan's in it and the director's in it, and they're like, you know, we really tried to go for it and just make one of the scariest movies ever made. I'm like, sure, buddy, sure y'all did. But look, I'm sure this movie's scary for some people. I'm sure it is. Just for me, like, I need that extra layer of weirdness. I need somebody with a vision, whether it's a bad vision or a really great vision. I just need a vision. Like, I would rather watch a terrible movie with a vision than just watch a bland, mediocre, soulless, lifeless amusement park ride of a horror film that's pretty good, but it's just forgettable. Like, I will not remember this movie. I don't remember the first Nun movie. I only remember this one because I just watched it 20 minutes ago, and I'm even starting to forget parts of it now. So if you like those kind of movies, though, you'll probably like The Nun too. So that's my review. Again, I will link it down below. Make up your own mind. It looks good. The sound's good. There's some good special features in it. I'm just not a huge fan of the movie, but you may be. So there you have it, guys. That's my review of The Nun 2 on 4K. Hope you enjoyed it. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Also, follow me on all my social media accounts. Those links are down below in the description, and we'll see you next time.